Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are doing fantastic. I was thinking about this one because, like I said in the past, to me, it's critical to be a good father, right? And we strike every single day, or at least I do, to become a better man. And if I become a better man, if I become a person or closer to God, I become a better father. Not only that, I become a better husband. I become a better person in general. So I was thinking about this 12 different ways to become a better father, to become a better dad. And I thought about it. I wrote it down in my phone, and I started writing different things. I wanted to do 10, but I came out about 12. Now, this is just some ideas. If you're a dad, some things that we could work on together, some things that we may be able to improve and things like that. It doesn't mean it's the only ways. There's many other ways, many other things that we could do. Definitely put some comments down below and let me know. I got my list right here, and I want to talk about every single one, and I kind of want to give you some feedback as well. So again, if you like this kind of content, this kind of videos, make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell so you could be notified when I post videos. Now, here's the first one, and again, this is not going to be in any particular order or anything like that, so I'm just going to shoot and let you guys know. The first one is going to be simple: set the example. And this is something that I kind of learned from my military times, right? Set the example. If you set the example, people will follow. If you show, what is supposed to be done, the way it's supposed to be done, people tend to follow you, right? So again, I usually think about Jesus when it came to this one as well, because again, Jesus came and chose how to love, chose how to forgive, right? He forgave those that essentially crucify him. He loved those that did, sinners, right? So again, I look at what he did, and it's kind of like the perfect example for me to follow, and that's what I do, right? So again, when I look at things like this, I think it's so important for us to set the example, because our children will follow our example. So do you work hard? Are you lazy? If you're lazy, they're probably going to be lazy, and it is what it is. I don't mean to offend anyone, but usually that's how it goes, right? If you work hard, your kids are going to work hard. If you show love, most likely your kids are going to show love. Again, there's always some exceptions out there. I'm sure somebody will put something in the comment like, well, I did everything right and my kids came out like this. Normally, generally speaking, if we set the example, our kids tend to follow, right? So again, to me, setting the sample is a big one. Showing them love them, and not only through the good, but also through the bad as well, right? There's some things that my kids have done that I'm like, wow, I can't believe they did that, and I continue to love them, right? I want them to know that I love them, and I have one that I'm going to talk about in a minute, but I really want them to know that their father loved him, right? And I got three boys: Fabian, Lorenzo, and Manny. And that's something that is important to me, because if they know I love them, they gonna feel secure in that love, and they gonna be able to not get influenced by so many people and things like that. They know that when I tell them something, they know that I tell them that out of love. I want the best for their life, so they're gonna tend to follow what I say, right? So you see so many times in TV and things like that, kids that go away from their families and things like that, and usually they have a broken home. Usually they have a home that is broken, a place where there was no love, there was nothing that I'm talking about right here. And unfortunately, they kind of set up a place that, it's kind of like a crappy place. And I'm not saying that that is an excuse to do things, but man, it would have been nice if some of these people would have had the opportunity to grow up in a better environment. And that's something that is critical to me. And I do that because, newsflash, I wasn't born in the perfect environment, or, in an environment that was so loving, right? Mom and dad together, married, all this stuff. No, I talked about it so many times that I want to be a good father, because I really didn't have a good father. And it is what it is. I'm not going to talk about it in this video. But again, loving them and making sure that they know that you love them and they are secure in that love, to me, super, super important. Protect them. Protect them. I mean, I think that's pretty much right there. Protect them. And the thing about this one is that a lot of times you're going to have to protect them from themselves. So a lot of things that my kids sometimes they do, I'm like, no, I don't want you to do that because I know you and I know where you're going to go with that. So I'm not only going to protect you from the exterior, but also from the interior and protect them in any kind of way, physically, emotionally, and things like that. Again, making sure that they are protected to include themselves, right? I tend to tell this to my boy Lorenzo a lot. I know what's going to happen because, you know, I'm almost 40 years old, and I'm sure some of you fathers feel the same way. Like when you know that that's just not going to go the right way. And please believe me. And, he tend to do his thing. And then when it goes wrong, he was like, kind of like, and I'm not surprised, not really surprised because again, with age, a lot of time, not all the time, but a lot of times it comes from wisdom, and you're gonna know that it's just not gonna go the right way, right? So again, protect them is a big one, as well as provide for them, and this is something else that I wanted to put here. And I think it's our responsibility. If you see some of the things that I'm talking about here, these things are biblical, right? These things are straight up biblical, where a father is supposed to protect them and provide for them. Provide for them. We tend to make a lot of excuses. I feel like we're living in the society, or in a new community of excuses. Well, this is happening, this is not happening. Provide for them. Work hard. Provide for them. If you see them, if they see you providing for them, what do you think is going to happen when they grow up? Right? They're going to follow your example. They're going to provide for their children. Right? My dad used to do this, so I'm going to do this. I mean, it's just one of those things, guys, that when you start following these things, or when you start like doing these things right here, it's just like a chain of reaction. Your children would do the same thing, right? And again, protect them, provide for them, forgive them. Man, that's a big one. Forgive them. A lot of times you see a lot of unforgiveness, and it creates division. Unforgiveness creates division between your family. A lot of times we just got to forgive them, right? I could go into the whole biblical part about forgiveness. I'm not going to do that into this video. But what I'm saying is that forgiveness is a big one, because unforgiveness creates division, creates tension, creates stress, drama. I mean, you name it, separation. So, right? Unforgiveness creates separation. So, again, forgive them. They're going to do something, not too smart, I guess. Forgive them. Again, that there's a huge difference here between not holding them accountable for. Still hold people accountable, but you shouldn't allow that unforgiveness to consume yourself. Forgive them so you could continue with your life, and you could continue to teach them how to become good men of this society, right? So here's one that I want to put out there. I don't know if this is, I guess I put it in my list of the 12 things. Make sure they know that you got their back. And that's something that I always tell my children. Just recently, there was some situation at the school, and I told one of my sons, I said, well, if this happened and you get taken to the office, the first thing you say is, I want my father here. The first thing, right? The first thing you said, I want my father here, because I want to make sure that I'm there to deal with the situation, right? And, it was kind of like, okay. And that's something that I have told my kids in the past. In this channel years ago, I show how one of my kids got tripped, and he actually got 5 stitches, 5 stitches, been a while already, right here on his nose, right? And I went all over the schools. I made it to the highest member of the school board, all this stuff, right? So again, my kids know that I got their back. It doesn't mean that if they run, they're not going to be punished. It doesn't mean they're not going to be held accountable for. But ultimately speaking, they know that I got their back, right? That when I show up to the school, I'm there to look out for their interests of my family. That's what I'm doing, right? Because there's a lot of silly stuff going on nowadays. I don't want to get into silly stuff, but again, there's a lot of silly stuff. So I have to make sure that they are safe. I have to make sure they are okay. They know I have their back. And what it does to them is that it makes them that sense of being strong, right? Okay, I'm going to do this, but if it goes wrong, I know that I could call my father, and my father will help me out either in any kind of way, whatever, advice or anything like that. Or in the case of my children being small, going to the school and things like that. So Again, next one's gonna be listen to them. And I struggle with this one. I really struggle with this one because I talk way too much, and I talk so much that I have YouTube channels so I could continue to talk. I always says that people say why you start YouTube channels is like I like to talk way too much. But again, listen to them. You'll be surprised when you listen to them. What you're gonna learn about them. You're gonna learn what they like and things like that. Now, specifically with my older son, sometimes I struggle with this because he is into video games and I'm not. And so, I got to listen about all these video games and all this stuff. And I'm kind of like, I like motorcycles, man. Like, can you talk about Harley Davidson and, Cholo bikes and things like that? But again, we got to make sure that we are listening to our children. I think this is super important. Here's one. Man, this is a big one. You ready for this one? This is a big one. Love their mom. Love their mom. If your children see you loving mom, guess what's going to happen? They're going to do the same thing. They're going to love their wife. They're going to, love their family. They're going to work hard for the family. They're going to work hard for the children when they grow up and they go away from here and they have their own family. They're going to look at your relationship that you have with your wife and they're going to be like, wow, my dad used to have that relationship with his mom, with mom. So I should do this, right? Again, it goes back to the first one when I said setting the example. Now, that doesn't mean that, you're not going to get into arguments and all that. Obviously every relationship fight, every relationship have a bad thing. But generally speaking, they should be able to see you loving on their mom, right? If you're married to her and you're living with her for years, you should love her, right? So again, talk to them. Man, listen, talk to them. This is a big one. I started to do this a little bit more lately with my son. Not lately, in the last year with my son Fabian, because he's 16 and a half, almost 17 years old. So I want to make sure that I talk to him and I give him advice, right? At this age, all the fundamentals should be in place. Really, all the fundamentals should be in place. So now I'm just filling him with advice, informations, the way that life is and things like that. So I make sure that I talk to them and be patient. Be patient. Sometimes kids do silly stuff and, I started to think about this a lot lately because sometimes I could be a little bit impatient, but what makes sense to you probably doesn't make sense to them. What you think is the right way, it may not be the right way to them. So again, remember this, you are the teacher, right? You are the teacher. He is, or they are the student. So a lot of times as you teaching them how to become good men, how to become good daughters, good women of this society, again, they may, hit some struggles. They may hit some, things that they did wrong or whatever. Just have some patience. It is what it is. I used to have a sergeant back in the days, back in my Marine Corps time. Listen to this. And he used to have this little saying. I don't remember exactly how it was, but he says there's two mistakes you can make. One with your heart, one with your mind. Right? So essentially one was that you made a mistake because you wanted to. You didn't care. You just did it. That was unacceptable. And another one was a mistake that just happened. It just happened. It didn't mean to do or happen, but it did. So again, when it comes to that, I'm very careful with that. Just having some patience. Maybe it went the wrong way, but maybe it wasn't his fault. Maybe we should just have a little bit of patience, right? I got two more, guys. Establish a loving place where they could be raised properly. I mean, guys, it goes back to being a provider. There are some places that maybe we shouldn't do. And a lot of times people say, well, I don't have the money to afford a fancy house. Okay, got that, right? But do you have the ability to control who comes around your children? Maybe you don't need to hang around with, people that are doing A, B, and C and bringing them around your house. This is not about money. This is not about being poor. This is not about being rich. This is not about having a fancy house, a crappy house, whatever. I just told one of my kids the first time I had a ruin, I was 21 years old. Never had a ruin in my life. This is about having a place that is safe, right? And it is what it is. A lot of times I'm very careful who I bring into my house because when I bring people into my house close to my children, their nonsense may transfer into my children. So you have to be really careful. I think establishing a place where, again, they are safe to me is super important. And lastly, point them to Christ. Listen, fathers are going to make mistakes. Men are going to make mistakes. We are just going to make mistakes. That's just how it happened. There's nothing we could do about it. We are going to make mistakes. We are sinners. We need Christ in our life, right? God Almighty is perfect. He is perfect. He is the perfect Father. So our job should be pretty simple. We point them to the perfect Father, which is in heaven. Anyways, what do you guys think about this? Let me know what you think. Make sure you subscribe. Put comments down below. I appreciate what you guys do. If you want to support the channel, obviously you could become a patron. All that good stuff. It's always awesome, and I definitely appreciate it. Let me know what you think. Put comments down below. And as always, God is in control.